Well, I've done it. I've finally hit level 100 on every job. Every real job in Final Fantasy XIV. Despite Dawntrail's reception, this expansion is probably the one where I've played the most. I started during Shadowbringers, got to Shadowbringers literally the day before Endwalker came out, and then once I beat 6.0, I took breaks between every patch, and after 6.5, I didn't play until like a month after Dawntrail came out. But Dawntrail, despite your thoughts on the story, I think it's hard to deny it had some of the funnest battle content. That's probably why I played it so much, and there's a lot of bonus content I still want to do besides. I hadn't even played any of the tanks until Dawntrail, as the tankxiety was quite strong, but I quickly realized just how easy the role really was, and now I enjoy tanking quite a bit. It was at that point I decided to level every job remaining to max level. I started with all 4 tanks, then leveled up Ninja, Monk, Machinist, Summoner, and Scholar. I then thought, you know, some of these jobs are way more fun than I would have initially thought, and some are a lot more disappointing than I thought. I should make a tier list based on how fun they are for me, and explain my choices, and what about the job makes me enjoy them, or not enjoy them, and so here we are. A standard tier list, S, A, B, C, and D are our tiers, also B+. This is based on how fun they are for me personally, so it's quite a subjective list. This has nothing to do with how good they are in the meta, because I don't really give a shit about that. This is just which jobs I enjoy playing the most. We'll start from the bottom with D tier, and work our way up to S tier. If you disagree, that's okay. In fact, that's probably good. I don't think everyone should like playing the same jobs as I do. I like diversity in my raids after all, so it's great that there's a job for everyone. And maybe when I explain why I dislike a job that I put low, you'll think, but that sounds like the kind of thing I'd like from a job. Maybe I'll go level it up since I haven't yet, and that would be cool too. Also, it bears mentioning that I'm not a tank main, nor am I a healer main. I enjoy playing the roles now and again, but I'm much more familiar with DPS, specifically melee and caster DPS. Fizz range, not so much, and caster I'm especially familiar with. So I'll probably have more to say about the caster and melee jobs than I will the healers, for example, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get started with the bottom of the barrel, the least fun job in the game for me personally, and it's not even close, it's Summoner. Yeah, as someone who loves caster jobs, going as far back as when I played Druid and Mage back when I used to play World of Warcraft, I find Summoner dreadfully boring. At level 6, when you get Ruby Carbuncle, congratulations, you can now play Summoner until level 100. You know how. Click Ether Charge, click Ruin 6 times, use your gems. You get more gems along the way, Ether Charge becomes Dreadworm Trance, and then Bahamut, / Phoenix, / Solar Bahamut, but it doesn't change how you play. You click the button, it changes Ruin into an instant cast spell that you hit 6 times. Then you use your gems, rinse and repeat forever and ever. It's so mind-numbingly easy. When you get Elemental Mastery, which gives you Slipstream, Mountain Buster, and the Crimson Cyclone combo, it's not quite boring anymore, it's actually quite enjoyable, if still easy as pie, but it feels good to place that Slipstream perfectly on the group of enemies. But you don't get these spells until level 86! And what do you get at level 100? Where other jobs get something cool and gameplay changing, Summoner gets another Bahamut that functions pretty much identically to regular Bahamut, except you get to use an OGCD heal. That's unbelievable. With a huge variety of summons to choose from, they couldn't think of anything else? Really? I've played quite a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, and never in all my time have I ever felt sleepy while doing a dungeon, except while playing Summoner. And it wasn't because it was close to my bedtime either. Summoner was just that boring. Also, for a job that's apparently a caster, how many times do you actually have to cast anything? There are so many instant cast spells, it's absurd. The only spells you cast are Slipstream, your 2 Ruby Rites, and 1 Ruin 3 cast after spending all your gems in your Ruin 4, and the next summon is coming off cooldown. I just can't imagine playing a caster this boring and easy that hardly ever even casts spells. The only time I enjoy playing Summoner is when I get to use my battle res to res a healer. But there's another caster who does it better. But we'll be talking about that job much later. Anyway, Summoner is just boring. I now understand why Summoner mains were upset about the Endwalker rework. It's boring. And listen, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad for playing and enjoying Summoner. I just can't do it, man. It's just the opposite of what I want from a job in this game. But I'm not the only guy playing the game, so I'll just go play a different job. so it's a good thing that there's 21 jobs to choose from. Next up in the C tier now is Astrologian. My biggest issue with this job currently is just too many damn buttons. Unless you're doing Savage content, you aren't gonna need all those buttons. You might not even need them all even if you were doing Savage content, I don't know. There's way too many heals, and despite being far less interesting than it used to be, there are too many buttons dedicated to the card system. Hopefully the evolved mode in Evercold will fix these issues. I remember enjoying Astrologian and Shadowbringers, and then Endwalker came along and removed the different sects and made the cards less interesting again, despite Shadowbringer already making them less interesting than the Stormblood cards. I'm sure if I dedicated a lot of time to playing Astro, I could get good at it, but I don't enjoy the card system, and I don't enjoy the button bloat, as I watch and see buttons like Sinistry collect dust because I have 500 other heals that solve the problem anyway, and it makes me feel like I'm not playing the job right, even though nobody's dying. And capping off the C tier is Scholar. My biggest issue again is button bloat. However, the buttons have more obvious use cases, but you don't need all these damn buttons unless you're doing hard content. I also don't like having to position my fairy and rely on my fairy for certain actions, but that's just personal taste. I know some people enjoy that aspect of the job. I will be honest with you, Summoner and Scholar are my most recently leveled jobs, and I played Summoner 90% of the time while leveling them, so my experience with Scholar is a bit lacking. I can see myself getting better at the job and enjoying it more, but the huge amount of buttons that literally fill up 3 hotbars is a little intimidating. This ranking out of all the rankings on the list is the one I would take with the biggest grain of salt. I want to play Scholar a bit more and try to get better at it. I do remember a few moments where my big old shields really helped out the party, and that feels good. Even so, I can't imagine this job ever going above Sage's placement, which we will see in a bit. Honestly, these rankings could change at a moment's notice. Balance changes and redesigns happen all the time, and when Evercold launches, we'll see that in a big way with the evolved modes. I'll probably make another tier list then, but for right now, at this moment in time, at the end of Dawn Trail, this is how I feel about these jobs and how fun they are to play for me. Again, this is just my opinion, and maybe some of the things I talk about disliking is something you might like, and something I like might be something you would dislike, and that's okay. Anyway, starting in the B tier now, the next job is Bard. Sorry Mr. Happy, I know you main this job, but for me it's a lower ranked job. I put it in B tier, so I don't necessarily dislike it, I'm just not a fan of the gameplay loop. It's a job that would be funner if I mained it, I'm sure, but there are other jobs I'd rather main because what happens is I don't play it very much. When I get an itch to play it, I end up either losing track of my songs and don't notice that I haven't moved on to the next one, or I end up dropping my dots and I can't really feel the impact of my songs on the party. I know there is an impact, like mathematically, but I can't really feel it, and the support abilities aren't really even that unique. Dancer and even freaking Machinist have a mitigation ability, and Dancer has a cool channeled heal and shield. I guess it's neat that Bard can do an Esuna, but you already have a healer to do that for you, so what's really the point? I don't dislike playing the job though, and the Psalm loop is fun and satisfying. It's just not a job that's easy to pick up after not playing it for a while, that's all really. Next is Dancer. I have fun with this job, but there are some sore points for me. First, it's very easy and very reliant on RNG. Your ass is feeling unlucky, you might not be getting any damn procs, and that's gonna have a bad impact on your performance. But it usually evens out over a long battle, so it's not a huge deal. One of my biggest issues is that the job is just so freaking weak. I understand that you get to give a nice juicy buff to a party member, but I don't think the added DPS of that party member is balanced well with how little damage you as a dancer do. I like buffing a party member, and I don't mind doing less damage than the other DPS in my party, but this job just feels so freaking weak. If it had more useful utility, that could justify the horrible damage output. I do like the short range AoE heal you can do, but it's pretty weak all things considered. If it also gave everyone hit by it a like 5% damage mitigation, I think that would be pretty cool. It's a pretty useless button because if your healers aren't incompetent fools, they'll be using their own AoE heals when big damage happens anyway. So tiny damage mitigation might make it into a proactive button to press, especially if Shield Samba is on cooldown, or you have another Fizz range in your party since Shield Samba can't stack with Tactician or Troubadour. I don't know, just spitballing. If you're the type of selfless soul who wants to give someone a big power boost, then go for it. But you know what grinds my gears about Dance Partner? There's no guarantee in Duty Finder that juicy looking samurai is even gonna be good at the damn game, so your dance partner might be going to waste. mean, when I see myself higher on the enmity ranking than the person I gave dance partner to, that's a bad feeling. And I don't want to make them feel bad, so I just keep it on them and hope they die so I have an excuse to take it off and give it to the DPS with the highest ranking on the enmity list. It doesn't really matter for the average casual player though, and I do love the aesthetic of Dancer, but the job is too easy, too weak, and just isn't really for me. Like Bard, it's still up in the B tier, so I'll play it if I get a little itch to play it or whatever, but it wouldn't be my first choice. Last in B tier is Viper, one of the newest jobs. This job does not have the problem of being weak, I'll tell you that, but it does have the problem of being a bit too easy. At the launch of Dawntrail, you had to use your head and the job gauge to choose which buttons to press, but I guess that was too hard for the job the Warrior of Light was in the trailer, so it was made a lot simpler. And now it's just press the glowing button. The only difficulty I ever really had with the job was dropping my buffs, because you can hold so many charges of Reawaken and Uncoiled Fury that your buffs will expire if you do those too many times in a row. But it was easy to correct after spotting the problem. Another issue with this job is that it's another melee job with a bar that fills up to do a hypercharge-esque burst. 2 expansions in a row. It was silly enough to get Reaper and Viper in back-to-back expansions when they're both melee, but they also have a similar gameplay gimmick. Don't get me wrong, it's fun as hell to do Reawaken, and the animations are sick as hell, but Viper doesn't really feel like it's its own theme yet, which is funny considering it's a job invented for the game. It is nice that Uncoiled Fury allows you to be the only melee DPS that can disengage at any time if the boss becomes unhittable without losing DPS. Viper is fun in a turn your brain off and do insane damage kind of way, but that kind of gameplay isn't what I'm personally seeking, and when we get to the higher points on this list, I think you'll see what I value in a job. Moving on to the B+ tier. This originally wasn't even a tier on my list. What I did was make a preemptive version of the list, and then I replayed every job, recording footage for this video, and reevaluating their rankings. And the job at the top of B+ caused the creation of this tier, because originally it was in B tier, but I actually enjoyed it a lot, but not enough to put it into A tier. We'll get there when we get there, but for now, starting at the bottom of B+ is Pictomancer. Well, the 2 Dawntrail jobs right next to each other. Coincidence? Yes, actually. At the start of Dawntrail, I adored Pictomancer. It was such a unique idea. But over the course of Dawntrail, my opinions started to sour a bit. I started liking the gimmick of stand still and paint for 3 seconds to be kind of dull and not enjoyable. I started playing other jobs more and decided to level jobs that I had overlooked and loved many of them. But Pictomancer makes me think. Makes me say, is now a good time to paint? And that aspect of it, the planning ahead, that is enjoyable to me. I just think there's too much painting, which sounds odd for a job all about the painting. But standing still painting is just, I don't know, it's just not fun. In this video, I mentioned the idea of Pictomancer being able to move and paint, but someone who actually mains the job said that it wasn't a good idea. I don't actually think that they should remove an element that makes the job difficult just because I, someone who doesn't main it, thinks it's annoying. If it's an aspect of the job that the mains of the job enjoy, then let it stay. And I think planning ahead your painting time is quite enjoyable in its own way. However, does the act of painting have to be so long? Not only does it take 3 whole seconds to paint, the recast timer is 4 seconds? I think that's my biggest issue, not the fact that you have to stand still and paint, just the fact that it takes so damn long. If you need to paint on the move and you swift cast a paint, great. Now you're doing nothing for 4 entire seconds. After playing jobs like Monk that are so goddamn fast, being unable to do anything for 4 seconds feels like butt cheeks. If they made the cast time and recast time 2.5 seconds and adjusted some potencies to make up for it, I think the job would feel infinitely smoother to play. But again, I don't know if that's just what I want from the job, a job that I wouldn't main even if they did make those changes. Pictomancer mains, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, that's why, for me and my personal tastes, I rank Pictomancer here, at the bottom of B+. I do love the aesthetic and the spells are fun to cast, I'll give you that. Next up is Paladin, the first tank on the list. There are a lot of things to enjoy about Paladin. The Confiteor combo that turns Paladin into the most mobile tank, allowing it to not take any loss to its DPS for quite a while. The 2 different combos are fun and so flexible, where you can swap between them without dropping them. The aesthetic, the sword and shield combo, and the wings, there are a lot of things to like about Paladin that I do like about Paladin. But there's some things that keep it this low for me personally. I know I just praised it, but I'm not really a fan of the 2 combos. Juggling those and trying to match them up to fight or flight to get the most potency out of your your fight or flight window can be a little frustrating sometimes if you aren't playing super well. Does it really matter, especially in normal content? But it just doesn't feel good sometimes when you want to be using the last of the fight or flight buff to do the big hits from the second combo and you don't have them available. Also, just like Astro, button bloat. Paladin has so many damn defensive abilities that get such rare usage, specifically Clemency and Cover. Don't get me wrong, when these abilities come in clutch, they come in clutch hard. But that's only ever if things are going wrong and you're grouped up with some damn fools. Also, Shield Bash, why does this button exist? If it was an AoE ability, that would be a different story. But if you're doing a trash pull in a dungeon, it is so much more effective to just use your AoE abilities to kill the enemies, not stun them one at a time using a GCD ability. Maybe it could come in handy on the very last trash pack in Mistwake, where those big bastards do big AoEs constantly, but even then I've seen tanks just stand in them and they don't really do much damage. And one use case across all dungeons does not a good button make. I concede, I hear it's quite good in Deep Dungeon, but again, that's content that not everyone even does. Deep Dungeon and one trash pack in one dungeon does not make this button worth taking up space on my hotbar. You have Low Blow, an OGCD that does a stun. Sure, it has a cooldown, but most of the time that's fine. And also you have the WASD keys to move out of AoEs. Not to mention Shield Bash does not work on bosses. Maybe there's some Realm Reborn bosses it works on, but a Realm Reborn bosses die so damn fast it doesn't even matter. It appeared to still be on the bar in the evolved mode. I hope it's changed in some way though. Anyway, I do enjoy Paladin, but I'm just not a huge fan of the jungling 2 combos and the massive button bloat, but I know some people like that stuff, and the aesthetic itself goes a long way, and I can see someone loving this just for the aesthetic alone, and I wouldn't even necessarily blame them. Some of the coolest artifact armor in the game, and the sword and shield combo never gets old. Next up is Sage, the other shield healer. Unlike Scholar, Sage doesn't have quite as much button bloat, but I'd say button bloat is an issue on pretty much every healer because they have so many damn heals. For a job marketed as the job that heals by doing damage, it didn't have nearly enough damage buttons in Endwalker, and they added Psyche in Dawntrail and an AoE dot, but it's not nearly enough. I wish they would lean into the idea of the healer that heals through dealing damage, which is something I enjoyed in World of Warcraft with Discipline Priest. Give Sage a proper DPS rotation, something at least as complex as Warrior, and instead of having heals, have buttons that are like, give party members a 100 potency shield, and after 15 seconds give an additional shield based on how much damage the Sage is dealt, or whatever. Obviously you still want some raw heals for those situations where it's needed, but experiment with the job a little, not make a Scholar with a different coat of paint. But the reason I like Sage more than Scholar is 3 things. 1, I have more experience with Sage. 2, less button bloat while also having a few cool damage buttons. And 3, the aesthetic, to be honest. The aesthetic goes a long way, just the sound design alone I really enjoy. Healers rank a little low on my list, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but I also just don't play them often. If I did, I'd probably rank them all slightly higher. The thing I like about Sage and Scholar as well is planning out shields. It just feels good to prevent damage, but the damage rotations on all healers are so mind-numbingly boring. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Sage goes here, might go a little higher if I played it more, but I don't really have that desire right now, so for now it goes here. I hope healers are more enjoyable with the evolved mode in Evercold, fingers crossed. Future Linkster here. I actually have been playing Sage quite a bit more recently, and I might put it above White Mage, which you'll see in just a second, because I've been really enjoying it. So yeah, and I've also played Scholar a bit more, and I would not move it up. I don't really like it. Next up is Reaper. When Endwalker released, I had literally just got to Shadowbringers, like literally the day before the servers were going down for a few days to implement Endwalker. I finished the last Stormblood quest, losing my Sprout icon right then and there. I sat in Ul'dah with a few other people who wanted to get Reaper ASAP, and when next I played, the first thing I did was get Reaper, and play through Shadowbringers as Reaper. I enjoyed Reaper a lot, still do in fact, but I find other DPS jobs and other melee jobs more enjoyable. I've seen some people say that Death's design should be changed or removed, and that makes me scratch my head. One of the biggest things I hear is a pushback on homogenization, and yet we also want to take away one of the things that makes Reaper unique. How is it any different than managing a dot on jobs with a dot? Functionally not that different. The button functions differently than a dot, but all you have to do as a player is make sure it doesn't fall off, just like a dot. It's not that hard, guys. Also, thematically, it makes sense for the Reaper. A curse you put on the enemy's very soul, which you reap once they die, giving you power. It's a fantastic job fantasy, why take that away? That being said, if you don't main Reaper, I kinda fuck up with keeping Death's design up, so I understand the complaints, but if you're a Reaper main, it's probably a non-issue. Just like when I talked about Bard, if you main Bard, you know how to keep your dots up, you know how to not fuck up your psalm timing. The main reason I put Reaper this low is simply because I enjoy other jobs more. But I love the aesthetic. Scythes are one of my favorite weapons in fantasy settings, and Reaper just oozes coolness. I just find the gameplay a bit simple, even though I hear at a high level if you mess up one GCD you just fuck yourself. I do look forward to the Evolve mode though, because I adore the aesthetic of Reaper, and if they make it hella fun to play, I'll be there. At the top of the B+ tier is none other than White Mage, the final healer job. That's right, no healer made it to A tier. Like I said earlier, this job is the reason the B+ tier exists at all. I placed this job in B tier at first, but when I went to record footage for this video, I finally understood why everyone was so damn happy with the change to Plenary Indulgence. The change that gives it a 10% damage mitigation to the party when used. It just works so well with your toolkit. Big AoE coming up, Plenary Indulgence, and then follow up with a Flatus Rapture or Medica 3 to heal up. It just works so well. Honestly, it works so well together with your AoE heals that I can't believe it didn't always have a damage mitigation. It made those big moments in boss fights where you're preparing to heal upcoming raid damage just satisfying as hell. I also learned not to be afraid to use my wings. I would always hold big healer cooldowns, but White Mage is so strong of a pure healer, I don't feel that desire, and I'm popping those wings whenever crazy raid-wide damage such as an Ockmorn style attack is coming. Man, I've actually been having a lot of fun with White Mage. It's the simplest and certainly easiest healer, so it's odd that I enjoy it more than other healers when something I take issue with healers in general, is how easy they are to play in casual content especially, and yet the easiest of the bunch is the one I have the most fun with. Perhaps it's a lack of confidence in myself since I don't main healer. When I play something like Scholar, which has so many damn buttons, it feels overwhelming. I don't know what to press in certain situations, and I can feel like I'm scrambling to keep everyone alive. And then with White Mage, it's just, oh look, everyone took huge damage. Let me Medica 3 into a Flatus Rapture. And hell, Cure 3 is always there if you need it. White Mage being so powerful and easy to understand allows me to feel comfortable playing it. And I can experiment a little more with things like Temperance, deciding, oh, I'll use it here, why the hell not? You know what it probably is? I don't main healer, so being able to go, I think I'll heal today, and having White Mage there is something so fundamentally easy to pick up and understand, helps a ton. It's not that the other healers are particularly difficult or anything, but if you don't play them often, you go to play one and they have so many buttons, you're like, what does this one do again? When's the best time to use this? But White Mage being so simple, it makes it the go-to job for someone who doesn't heal very often, like me. I do feel like a Flatus Misery is a hella boring button though. I don't think it's wrong to have a simple to use healer or anything, but I wish a Flatus Misery had a more interesting interaction with your heals rather than just use 3 heals and do a big attack. What they showed off of Evolve mode for White Mage with Holy Sanctuary, I think it was, where it's like a Flatus Misery, but it scales with how many GCD heals you do, instead of just 3 heals equal 1 attack. I think it looks a lot more flexible and fun, so I have high hopes for it. What they said was something like a higher reliance on healing or something instead of just glare spam, but I guess only time will tell. It looked good, and I think Holy Sanctuary is both aesthetically and functionally better than a Flatus Misery, but again, only time will tell, and I'm rubbing my hands together in anticipation for the release of Evercold. Moving on now to the A tier. This is the biggest tier, which goes to show how many different jobs I truly enjoy. It was a little difficult to sort this tier, and honestly the ordering in the entire list could change depending on my mood, but the general ordering and the tiers I think are pretty much right. Anyway, that being said, right here, right now, the bottom of the A tier is going to be Gunbreaker. Now remember, this is A tier, so these jobs I enjoy a lot. What's there to like about Gunbreaker? I'm glad you asked. The gunblade itself for one, I mean, what an absolutely cool as hell weapon. The aesthetic of this job is off the charts. I've heard people call Gunbreaker's rotation closer to that of a DPS than a tank, and there's certainly some truth to that, but it's not really that complex. Changes in, what was it, 7.4 made the job a lot more flexible to play. Maybe too flexible. Before 7.4, I had a pretty good grasp of the rotation, and now I find myself sometimes accidentally messing up, drifting some cooldowns or overfilling the cartridge gauge, but I can't tell you how much of that is the job changing and me barely playing it that often since 7.4. And it wasn't the changes in 7.4 that made me stop playing it, it was the fact that I was leveling every job and I had hit level 100 on Gunbreaker and was playing a different job at that point. There's still 2 tanks I haven't talked about, and I enjoy them more than Gunbreaker, and they're my go-to tanks whenever I can be bothered to queue up as tank. So maybe me messing up is more just a lack of experience playing the new Gunbreaker, and not a fault of the changes to Gunbreaker. This is another job that if I played a ton, those issues would go away. But I don't desire to play it any more than I already do, and even though I play the other tanks more often, I still enjoy it, especially for the aesthetic. I actually play Paladin more than Gunbreaker because it is so flexible, and I want to love Paladin because it looks so cool, but it's just not as fun as Gunbreaker, so I have to put Gunbreaker higher than Paladin. Maybe that'll change in Evercold, I don't know. Gunbreaker, fun job though. Next up is the one and only Red Mage, a job that I frequently played a lot over the years because I love caster jobs. I've loved them forever. I played the hell out of Mage in World of Warcraft, especially during Legion. I just love magic in general. I think it's so freaking cool. Red Mage has the unique mechanic of dual cast. You cast spells with a normal cast time, and then instant cast spells that usually have a long cooldown that do a lot of damage, but still have the same recast timer as all your other spells. You get procs to do cool attacks, and you even have a melee combo. Kinda didn't see the point of them letting you do the melee combo from Rage with Manification, like, what is bro hitting? Isn't the idea of Red Mage to be the caster job with a melee combo? I mean, aren't you usually wanting to stay in or at least close to melee range anyway, just for party buffs and heals and shit like that? Just an odd choice, I feel. But it didn't really change how the job plays or anything. I love balancing white and black magic, I love the melee combo into crazy ass spell combo, and boy oh boy, when things go to hell, you feel like a damn hero with Verrays. No other job, not even Summoner, can just save a run from the brink of extinction quite like Red Mage can. And the drip, goddamn. Next up is another tank, Warrior. This tank gets made fun of all the time for being unga bunga, easy as all hell, and it is, truly. Maybe you can save some gauge for an extra Fel Cleaver too in burst windows, but that's about the only thing slightly hard about this job. This job is an absolute god in casual content, especially dungeons. Not such a god in hardcore content, but no job should be good at everything. Boy, this is my go-to if I'm gonna tank a dungeon, because I don't have to worry about fucking up, or not using my mitigation super well, or worry about if my healer sucks or not, because my ass is invincible, and boy, it feels good as hell to heal up with Bloodwetting. Also, Fel Cleave, just the absolute coolest ability in the damn game, I mean, come on. Also, I've got a pretty slick looking glamour if I say so myself, using the Dawntrail artifact gear in this Warcat. It may be an easy job, but hell if it ain't satisfying to play and cool as hell. I mean, I just love swinging around a big ass axe. Just cool as hell. Next up is Dragoon. This used to be my favorite melee job if I'm not mistaken, and it still is a lot of fun. I love Dragoons, not only aesthetically, but the Dragoon characters throughout this series are some of my favorites. Freya, Cid, and of course Estinian. They just look so cool, and I gotta say, I love the jump ability, it's so awesome. I am so glad they implemented a version of the PvP limit break into the Dragoon's Evolved Mode toolkit. Yes, it doesn't make you invincible apparently, but you get a big damage reduction, and that's all I can really ask for. That's gonna be a fun button to experiment with in Evercold. Also, spears, I love them. This is the only spear job in the game at the moment, and I freaking love it. The reason it's lower than the other melee DPS is twofold. First, I actually played some of the melee jobs higher than this for the first time in Dawntrail, and just had a blast with them. And two, Dragoon was perfect in Endwalker, but they made it less busy, which was part of the fun for me. I mean, they already made it less busy than it was in Endwalker at Dawntrail's launch, and then they made it even less busy post-launch when they reduced your Nastron charges from 3 to 1. 1! That's crazy to me. 3 Nastrons was just so damn fun, and now it's only 1? It moves me to tears. But the job is still fun as hell, and I play it quite often. Next up kinda hurts me, and it's Black Mage. If you've seen my other recent Final Fantasy XIV videos, I've mentioned this I think in all of them, at least a few of them, and that's the 7.2 changes to Black Mage. Black Mage was the job I started the game as, my very first job. I mentioned I played a ton of Mage in World of Warcraft. Well, I love mages, and Black Mage made sense for me to choose, and so I did. And what I love about Black Mage is the aesthetic for one. The spells are so cool and so flashy. I love holding a big magic staff, I love casting spells, I love having a pointy magic hat. It was just everything I adored. But it was more than that. I also loved how difficult the job was to master. I loved how the strict 15-second timer made messing up matter, and if you loved Black Mage, you felt pain when you messed up, and you strove to get better. It's rare that messing up on a job is so punishing, yet makes you want to improve, and you should want to improve. My toxic trait is thinking that everyone should play the game like me and not suck at their job even if we're doing piss easy story content, okay? But I know that's not what the developers want. They want a job that everyone can play, especially if it's an iconic Final Fantasy job, like Black Mage is, but it upsets me. I don't care if it's the least played job, I don't care if it's hard to play. There are 21 jobs to choose from. It doesn't need to appeal to everyone. It was what I wanted from a job. It was more than just a timer. It made you plan out your attacks. Where should I use Xenoglossy? Do I have time to use Xenoglossy? Should I swift cast this Fire 4 since the recast timer is shorter than the cast time, so that I have time to use Paradox or Despair before the timer runs out? I mained this job from the time I started all the way to 7.2. It was fun as fuck for me. I talked earlier about how the changes I would make to Pictomancer's painting might not be good ideas, because I'm not a Pictomancer main. They'd be great if I didn't main Pictomancer and just wanted an easy little side job to play every now and then. But how would Pictomains feel about it? Is this really what the Black Mage mains wanted? I didn't want it! I loved planning out my positioning and my triple casts and my Xenoglossies. It was so satisfying to learn a fight inside and out, and go in there and just pump out big ass damage from my spells. I played so much Black Mage and Endwalker, it's not even funny. The job I fell in love with is gone. Made simpler so anyone can play it. Even though anyone could play it before, it was just more punishing if you sucked ass. It's not like it was unrecoverable if you dropped your Inoki and swift cast a Blizzard 3, asshole. I'm not bitter, by the way. I loved the long cast times too. It was just a job fantasy thing, really. It made your spells feel more impactful. Game feel is important. And now the cast time is shorter than the recast time. What are we doing here? Where did my Black Mage go? I hope the evolved mode brings some of that back, or completely changes everything and creates some kind of new, never before seen way to play Black Mage that makes me fall in love with it for a different reason than the first time, because I want to main Black Mage, I really do. And I still play the job, don't get me wrong, I'll never not love the aesthetic and the spell casting and all that. Magic is one of my favorite things ever and nothing is going to change that, but the game feel of Black Mage, it's no longer the same. And for that reason, it went from an undisputable number 1 to number 6, all because of one single patch. I'll never forgive you, 7.2. I'll never forget you either. God damn it. And I don't buy that the Savage fights were designed in such a way where Black Mage would be impossible to play. They didn't even offer the Black Mages a chance to try it out. And even if you couldn't perfectly execute your Black Mage rotation, is it really going to be such a tight DPS check that the above average Black Mage has no chance of clearing the content? I really doubt it. But enough about Black Mage. I don't want to reopen the wound on my heart too much now, so let's move on. Hey, Future Linkster here. I've been playing Black Mage a lot lately. Everything I said in my rant I still agree with, but I don't want to make it sound like I hate Black Mage. I mean, it is still this high on the tier list after all. I still love casting spells, I still love sitting in my ley lines, I still love how beefy Mana Ward is. I miss the pre-7.2 Black Mage, and especially the Endwalker Black Mage, but I'm not going to stop playing the iconic as hell job just because I prefer the old version of it. It's like an old car you've had for a while. It may not drive as well as it used to, but when you sit in that driver's seat, it's comfortable, it's familiar, and that's kind of what Black Mage is like for me. About once a year, I get an itch to play Classic WoW, and I'll go make a new character and run through Elwynn Forest and Westfall, and it's just so familiar and comfortable and cozy. Black Mage is my most played job. It was my definitive main before 7.2, and despite me not playing it much anymore, I still enjoy playing it because it's just familiar. I know how to play it, and I know how to play it well, and come on, the aesthetic is my favorite fantasy aesthetic. I love casting spells, so I'll always love Black Mage. Not as much as I used to, but it still holds a place forever in my heart. So let's all pray to Mr. Prime that the new evolved mode for Black Mage is sick as hell and makes me fall in love with it all over again. Thanks for listening to the rambles of a sad, sad man. Next up is a job I played for the first time in Dawntrail, and that's Machinist. Well, actually, I unlocked the job in Endwalker, I think, leveled it up from 30 to like 32, and then never touched it because I didn't like the looks of it. But when I decided to level up every job in Dawntrail as one of my goals, I started to love Machinist, especially the higher my level got. I mean, goddamn, when I first got Drill, and I saw how much goddamn damage a Reassemble plus Drill did, my jaw hit the damn floor for real. It was nuts. Nothing feels better in a DPS job than hitting a big, cool-ass ability and doing a shit ton of damage. And Hypercharge, boy, it makes the job. Sure, Viper and Reaper have Hypercharge-esque burst phases, but Hypercharge is its own beast. The way it reduces the cooldown of Gauss Round and Ricochet is so fun, and the way it interacts with and synergizes with Wildfire, which is basically a one-of-a-kind ability in this game, is so goddamn good. Lord help you if you have any latency issues though, because hypercharge is gonna be fucking you up. And your robot is so freaking cool. Oh my god, talk about a cool ass aesthetic for a job. Oh, and you get a goddamn shotgun that has such a satisfying animation and sound. Oh man, when I got that shotgun, it made me flush with excitement. Technically, it's just a different skin for Spreadshot, but it didn't matter because it looked and sounded so awesome. My love for shotguns comes from TF2. They're so punchy and impactful. I just love them. This was a job I slept on for a long time, and honestly, I could see it going even higher if I played it more, but I only recently hit level 100 on it, so I need more time, but I loved every second of it. Speaking of a job I recently hit level 100 on and absolutely loved every second of, topping off the A tier, it's Monk. I actually originally had this job in S tier, that's how much I enjoyed it, but I was like, is this just recency bias? Is it really as good as these other jobs? I think not. And so I put it at the top of A tier instead. Boy, this job is fun. The fastest job in the game. When I go and play other jobs, especially slower jobs like the tanks or like Reaper or something, you can feel the difference so hard. I love how fast this job is. I actually hated the way this job played in Shadowbringers and Endwalker, I believe. I think it was just too complex, too many positionals, too hard to keep track of all the forms and the stacks, but now it's just follow the glowing button pretty much. It's funny, that's something I dislike about Viper, but it's something I appreciate on Monk. Maybe it's because on Viper it was pretty simple to keep track of, but on Monk it was a lot harder. I'm sure if I actually deep dived into Monk I would have enjoyed it even back then. I was just intimidated. I bet a Monk main would roll their eyes at me and say Monk was better in Stormblood or something like that, but for me right here, right now, I enjoy Monk. The speed of the job, the masterful blitz are so damn cool, and the crazy AoE spells you get from Riddle of Wind and Riddle of Fire are just badass as hell. I actually never really liked Monk type characters in games before. I thought, oh how boring, you're just punching. Maybe, and this could just be a coincidence, but I played Trails in the Sky first chapter earlier this year, around the same time I started leveling everything in Final Fantasy XIV, and seeing a character like Zin who is a monk, but is just so cool, and has really awesome animations in the Trails first chapter remake, maybe that made me appreciate monks more, which allowed me to love the monk job in Final Fantasy XIV, I don't know, maybe. Either way, the fast GCD, the flashy abilities, and the cool way your combo works are all reasons why I enjoy Monk a lot. Now for the jobs that have truly outshone the rest for me, and show off my taste pretty well. These three jobs represent what I want from jobs in Final Fantasy XIV in some way, and so to start off the S tier at the bottom, it's Dark Knight, the last tank. This was actually the last tank that I leveled up, for the mere fact that I remember them being a nightmare to heal an Endwalker for whatever reason, so I was worried that it was going to be a rough time. And I died a few times here and there, but that's life. Anyway, I loved this job. The MP management aspect is just fun to me. I hope in Evercold they lean even more into it and give Dark Knight so many more ways to manage their MP and regain MP and spend MP and all that, because boy, it's fun as hell. The Blackest Night is such a satisfying ability when used correctly, and I've been trying to get even better at Dark Knight recently, saving my MP for Delirium, so I can get even more damage out on burst phases. Living Shadow is such a cool ability too. The aesthetic of the job is wonderful. I love the big ass sword, the cool ass abilities. Man, this job is a blast to play. This is my go-to tank for basically anything that isn't dungeons, and even then I might play it just because I love it so much. My one and only complaint is that Living Dead is a pain in the dickhole to use with random players, and me communicating to my Duty Finder group, yeah right, I'd shit my pants if I had to socialize it in MMO. Anyway, next up is Samurai. This is a job that I just can't seem to stay away from, even when I mained Black Mage, even when I considered Dragoon my favorite melee, I always came back to this job. It's just satisfying as hell. I don't know what it is. Is it the three combos that offer a level of flexibility? Is it the aesthetic of the job? Is it the EI Jutsu that have a cast time making them feel like powerful abilities on a melee job, which typically has no cast times? Is it the big cooldowns that offer huge and satisfying to press big attacks with insane animations? Is it all of the above? Yes. This job is awesome, and when there's downtime, boy oh boy, meditation time. I don't really have much else to say. This job is just fun and satisfying as hell. Last but not least, if you're paying attention, you've already guessed it. It's Ninja, my current favorite job in Final Fantasy XIV. This is another job I didn't play much until Dawn Trail. I leveled it up to close to 50 in Endwalker, but the thought of memorizing all the ninjutsu scared me off, especially since I was already enjoying Black Mage and Dragoon and Samurai so much. So I didn't really give it a fair shake, but boy, I'm so glad I decided to play it, especially after the changes to Black Mage. This job is not exactly difficult, but the 2-minute bursts can get really intense, and if you slip up, say bye-bye to your Raiju, and it's easy as hell to overcap on Ninki if you're not paying attention, especially since Dokumori gives you a big burst of it. Not quite as punishing as Black Mage was if you screw up, but still, that's what I want, a job that requires a brain cell to play well. And the fact that it's fast and the 2-minute burst is so intense just makes it so much fun, for me. I don't want a job that's so easy it might as well play itself. I'm looking at you, Summoner. I want a job with a level of difficulty above the average, with real consequences to messing up, that makes me want to get better. And it doesn't hurt that it has a great aesthetic, and big, powerful attacks like Hyosho Ranryu, which does a potency of 1300, good lord. If you fuck up after clicking Kasatsu, and you don't get that Hyosho Ranryu off, you are a sad, sad motherfucker, and I've been there. Punishment for failing. Something Black Mage no longer has. I mean, what's the worst you can do? Accidentally press 7 fire 4s in a row because you're falling asleep at how easy the job is now and you end up missing a paradox? Boo-hoo, who gives a shit? I don't know what the evolved mode ninja will look like, but I hope it's just as fast-paced and fun as it is now. I just love this job no matter what content I'm doing. Dungeons, boy, it feels great to use Doton and big AoE attacks and just watch the trash packs melt into dust. Raids, trials, it doesn't matter, ninja is just fun. I love the abilities, the aesthetic, the ninjutsu is so cool, it's such an awesome job. Oh, and please, for the love of God, if you play ninja, don't use Doton on single target. I beg of you, it's less damage on single target than Raiton. Just use Raiton, please. And that's my ranking of each job in Final Fantasy XIV based on how fun they are, for me. It's extremely subjective, and I'd be shocked if with 21 jobs in the game your ranking was somehow identical to mine. I think everyone will have their own ranking because everyone is different. What makes a person tick is different, and each job in the game provides a different type of itch, and what itch your brain really likes is going to be different from someone else. Let me know in the comments what your favorite job to play is, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.